Hello everyone, this is Gage from Gondorian Smith, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys another Third Age Reforged online multiplayer battle replay. And this one is a 4-player free-for-all on the Grassy Plains map. You can see it is a pretty cloudy, even a little bit rainy day, but nevertheless, these 4 armies are going to be fighting each other to the death. Now, this replay was sent to me by HD 1080p, so big thank you to him for sending it to me. But we can go ahead and go into his army composition first. So he's going to be playing as the Realm of Lindon. Definitely a very, very strong faction currently. He's got a couple units of the Lindon Guard. These guys are pretty good. They don't have a ton of armor, however their shield, the shields on their back do help them survive in a skirmish fight for a pretty long amount of time. Also, being elves, they have very good accuracy, and because they're technically spear hybrids, they're actually quite difficult to run down with cavalry. In addition to this, he also has 2 units of these standard Lindon archers back here. These guys are not spearmen, so they can get run down quite a bit easier, and they also do have worse overall stats. However, they also are cheaper. For his mainline infantry, he has got 4 units of the Lindon pikemen, being backed up by 4 units of the Lindon infantry, so nice pike block there, with also some good sword and shield infantry just to kind of provide some protection from any incoming arrows. For his cavalry, he's got 2 units, I believe, of the Mithlond Lancers. These guys do cost about 1,000 florins each. However, they are very deadly because they do throw AP javelins, and being Lancers, they are AP off of the charge. He also has 1 unit of the Noldoran Horse Lords for his general. I don't believe they're quite a knight unit, but still very, very powerful. And because they're not knights, I don't think anyway, they do not actually cost the full 1,500 florins that most knight units actually do cost. Over here you can see his 2nd unit of Mithlond Lancers. He's also got the Chariots today. These guys can be very, very deadly as long as you keep them constantly on the move. Also, way over here, he's got 1 unit kind of back here in ambush. He's got 1 unit of the Lindon Scouts. These guys are Lancers. They're pretty poor overall. However, they can actually hide anywhere, which makes them pretty good in terms of an ambushing force. But we can now go over here to the enemy that I assume he'll be facing first, which is going to be DF Bobo 16k. He's got 1 unit of the Herenidine Nobles for his General's Bodyguard. These guys are AP Lancers, and I believe they're actually AP in melee as well because they whip out some maces, so they are very good both off the charge and in prolonged melee. He's got a couple units of the Dunmen Hunters, as well as a couple units of the RHUDAUR Marksmen down here for his archers. He also has a front line that consists of 2 units of Dunmen Pikes, 2 units of Herenidine Pikes, and a bunch of clansmen to protect them from any incoming arrow fire, because RHUDAUR is, for the most part, very, very weak to missiles, which is going to, I think, make it a rather difficult fight for Bobo against Lindon, especially because Lindon has brought like 4 units of archers. However, he also does have 2 units of the Edinburgh's Troll Hunters here. These guys are very deadly javelins. Also, because they are spear hybrids, they are rather difficult to run out of any cavalry. For his own cavalry, he also has 1 unit of the Coldfell Maidens. These guys are, of course, or girls rather, are actually Javelin Cav members. He also has 2 units of the Dunmen Scouts back here as well. These guys are pretty poor overall, but again, they can actually still do a decent amount of damage because I believe they're still AP off the charge, and there are 91 of them in the unit. However, because they are so low tier, they actually do tend to rout really easily, so you have to be very careful with them. However, they also are, of course, extremely cheap. He also could have a couple of hidden units back here, because I know that I believe maybe the RHUDAUR Axemen can hide anywhere, and I think also the Foraged Javelins can also hide anywhere, as well as the Black Wolves. But we will see if he has any hidden units coming out pretty shortly here. We can now go to the next army, which is going to be commanded by DF Lister, so a lot of DF clan members in this battle. He's got 2 units of the Rittermark Skirmishers. These guys are, of course, AP with their javelins, and they also are AP in melee because they use these 2-handed axes that are actually on their back, so extremely, extremely deadly and very cost-effective. He's got 2 units of the Riders of the Fold Horse Archers. He's got 3 units of the civilians here. The main reason he brought these, I would assume, is because of the AP, which you will see why later on, as you'll see his enemy. He's got a couple units here of the Eastmark Spearmen here to protect his 2 units of archers. He only has 2 units of the Rittermark Archers here instead of 2 units of Rittermark Archers and 2 units of Helmigas, and that is because he is actually facing the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm, who tend to be able to tank most arrows very, very easily. Also, because he is going to be facing the Dwarves, he of course is going to be bringing 2 units of the Awen's Shield Mains. These guys are going to be, or girls again rather, should be very good at taking out those heavily armored dwarves. He's also got 1 unit of the Sons of Aoril for his general AP Knight unit, going to be very, very helpful with their AP lances, to take out some of those heavily armored dwarves. He also has 1 unit of the Red Shield of Erkenbrand, which is of course a hybrid between a horse archer and a melee cav. Here is his 2nd unit of Riddermark skirmishers. He also has 2 more units of horse archers. These guys are the Eastmark horse archers. And back here, he's got some more AP and lancers. He's got 2 units of the Riddermark cavalry and 1 unit of the Arid of Aldburg. So surprisingly, he's going to be bringing a ton of horse archers, which against the dwarves I wouldn't think would be incredibly useful, but we'll have to see how that turns out for him. Over here we're going to see the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm being commanded by DF Celtic or Celtic, however he prefers. For his front line, he's got a couple units of the Dwarven Miners. These guys are pretty... well, they're pretty poor. They're not super expensive, which is nice, and also they are actually AP and melee, which makes them worthwhile pretty much all the time. He's got a couple units of the Sons of the Fallen on either flank. He's also got a couple units here in the center of the 4th Legion Shield Guard to make sure he doesn't take any cavalry charges. He also has 4 units, I believe, of the Warriors of Khazad-dûm here, all in shield wall. They're a little bit worse than the 3rd Legion Shield Guard, however they are cheaper, and I believe they have more men in the unit. And behind them, he has got 4, maybe even 5 units, is that what this is, of Sentries of Khazad-dûm. These guys are also surprisingly cost-effective because they're not incredibly expensive, and because they are dwarves and have good armor even though they are pikemen. You can actually use these guys really well as targets just for the enemy to waste arrows or javelins into. He also has 1 unit of the Guards of Khazad-dûm for his General's Bodyguard. He's got 1 of the Mithril Guard and 1 unit of the Legion Bodyguard, so definitely bringing all of the elites here. Also, I should mention that he does not have any foot archers at all, or javelins it looks like, so he's basically just going to be trying to outlast the missiles of Rohan and then try to beat him with what he has left over in the infantry fight. But without any further ado, we can go ahead and go into the replay itself. I think I will slow it down a bit just because you can see that Lindon and RHUDAUR are really not facing each other, so HD is going to be reforming his lines, and it looks like Bobo will be doing so as well. But over here, oh yes, okay, this is what he's going to be doing here. So it looks like he's going to be doing something that honestly I've been trying myself to do, and it's actually worked decent, I should say. Not great, but it's worked decently for me. And this is a Khazad-dûm rush. You can see that is actually why he's got no foot archers at all, and that's because he's just going to absolutely try to bulldoze his way through those Rohan lines and then try to deal with the cav afterwards. And if you know what you're doing, it can be used to great effect, but you have to be very careful, I noticed, to not split up your forces, because while they are dwarves, they can still definitely get taken out if they are surrounded. So you still definitely have to be very careful here. And honestly, it might be a good idea because of the fact that he's facing Rohan, it'd probably be a good idea to maybe even pull these spears, or at least the pikes, into his backline and not commit them right away, because that way he will be able to protect his backlines from any lancer charges. But yeah, this is just going to be a real bad situation for Lister's infantry. His civilians, while they are AP, are going to get absolutely butchered, same as the Eastmark spears. His archers aren't going to be able to do a huge amount of damage, but hopefully he will be able to cause a lot of damage here with his Awen's shield mains. You can see they are actually getting ready to throw. They're probably going to throw into those Sentries of Khazad-dûm and the Warriors of Khazad-dûm. Yes, that is ooh, that's a lot of axes. But again, honestly, because of how cheap, for pikes anyway, the Sentries of Khazad-dûm are, that's actually probably not too much of a cause for worry for Celtic, rather. You can see he's just kind of reforming his lines, or just beginning the assaulting. See these civilians just getting butchered. He's going to push some Sons of the Fallen, also going to try to catch out some of those horse archers. We'll take a look at what's going on elsewhere. Looks like RHUDAUR and Lindon are just kind of skirmishing each other down right now. This will be an interesting fight, I think, mainly because it's just pikes versus pikes with some infantry as well. Ooh, okay, it looks like Bobo's going to try to get a nice charge here with his Dunman scouts. So they are going to be able to connect this charge here into the Harlundon Guard. But you can see, because of the fact that the Harlundon Guard are spearmen, and because the Dunman scouts are really not the greatest cavalry unit, they're not going to take a horrendous amount of loss. And you can see instantly those Dunman scouts just absolutely routing. They will probably come back because there are still 59 of them. But regardless of that, you can see over here the Noldorn Horse Lords are in the fight in the fight against some Coldfell Maidens. and some Dunman Scouts. There's some Niflheim Lancers back there giving some support with Javelins. Ooh, but here comes some Horrendidine Nobles from Bobo. This is a risky move from both HD and Bobo here, because these are both of their General's bodyguard units. But those Noldoran Horse Lords have already taken quite a number of losses, so he needs to be careful. We will quickly make our way back over here, because it is of course going to be a rush build that Celtic has put forward today. And you can see the Awen's Shieldman's now getting attacked. The Riddermark Archers are trying to fall back as well, but these Dwarven Infantrymen just bulldozing their way through these poor Rohirrim infantry. Looks like the Awen's Shieldmaidens have used all of their ammo and are going to be committed to the fight. Ooh, you can see the Sons of the Fallen took a lot of losses, I assume, to the Javelins. The Sons of Aerol charging straight into those Sons of the Fallen. Not good at all for Khazad-dûm. Over here, the Dwarven Miners getting attacked by some Riddermark Cav. And maybe some of the Heir of Aldred, yes. Ooh. And yes, over there, it looks like HG's General has indeed fallen. It's a lot of the Lancers, and I guess the Noldoran Horse Lords are in there as well. Ooh, not looking good at all for HD right now. Looks like a lot of his cavalry is getting taken out. There are still 26 of those Horrendidine Nobles, and all of the, whatever they're called, the Elven Nobles have been taken out. Oh, here come the Coldfell Maidens charging straight to those Lindon Archers, and these guys again are not spearmen, so they will take a lot of losses to that. It looks like a lot of the Lindon Archer Corps has taken a lot of losses as well. And then Scouts charging. Here comes some Ettenmoor's Troll Hunters, RHUDAUR Marksmen. Yeah, Bobo doing a really nice job, honestly, I think, of dealing with Lindon so far. And the Legion Bodyguard, the elites of the Dwarves, still causing a huge amount of trouble for Celtic, because these elites actually can tend to tank charges, even from units like Sons of Aerol, pretty well. Legion Bodyguard going to take a charge here from these AP elites. See, they're not going to go down in huge numbers. I mean, they did take 10, 11 losses. No more, actually. Sons of Aerol definitely still a very good unit. But still not a ton of losses, all things considered. Over here, though, you can see the Dwarves are actually starting to get outnumbered. And again, I think this is mainly down to the fact that when rushes like this with the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm happen, the Dwarves really can tend to get like blobbed up. They'll push through really easily in other areas, and then not so much in different spots of the battlefield. So you can see, like over here, they were able to defeat the Rohirrim really easily, but over here, because they're so split up, his pikes and Warriors of Khazad-dûm are starting to struggle quite heavily. Mithril Guard and Shield Wall are going to be able to tank this charge pretty easily. Also, with the pikes moving in, Lister may find a lot of losses here for his Heir of Aldred. Riddermark Cavalry going to charge, but unfortunately it's going to be straight into those Sons of the Fallen who are going to counter-charge. The Sons of the Fallen are definitely a very elite, well, not super elite, but very, very good spear units that are going to be able to really give it to those Riddermark Cavalry for charging them head first. Looks like a lot of those pikes took a ton of losses. And now it's going to be turning into a really interesting fight, I think, over here, now that most of the Rohirrim infantry has fallen, and it's basically just a cav engagement now. You can see the Riddermark skirmishers still throwing their javelins. Horse archers also constantly firing. And over here, looks like Bobo's running out of ammo with his archers, so he's just going to maybe rush him forward. Nope, he's just getting closer. Once you pick his targets a little bit more carefully anyway. But yeah, HD took a lot of losses in terms of his cavalry, and you can see these pikes are also very weakened by now. Niflheim Lancers, 18, Lindon Scouts at 33. And it looks like actually all of Bobo's 16k's cavalry has been taken out, with the exception of these 24 Horrendidine Nobles. So it's actually still looking pretty close, all things considered. But as things are pretty much still a skirmish phase over there, we'll go back over here now. Shield Guard going to be able to take these charges relatively well, especially because they are, looks like, in Shield Wall. And again, because of how many spears Khazad-dûm actually has, I think it's going to be very difficult for Lister to try to deal with what's left of the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I believe it's these Warriors of Khazad-dûm have a very cool armor upgrade. I think it's actually a unit model from the vanilla game. So if you guys have not already seen that, go ahead and check it out because it looks very cool. At least to me. Sentries of Khazad-dûm dealing with those civilians. There's some Mithril Guard moving in as well. Ooh, and over here, looks like maybe the Sons of Yor, which is actually the general of Lister, had maybe gotten stuck in with some pikes or just were in an engagement for too long. Actually, yes, it looks like it was pikes because you can see a lot of those elites, a lot of those elite horsemen over here dead by the pikemen. So that's very unfortunate. Oh, he's going to still be aggressive with them though, which is nice. But again, charging straight into Mithril Guard who are in shield wall when there's only 5 of them left, that's going to cause a lot of losses. And one of these 3 remaining dudes is the general. 2 remaining dudes is the general Lister, and with his constant cav micro, it looks like he's going to lose micro of his general's bodyguard. And in fact, he may lose his general any second now. We'll just have to see. It looks like the Mithril Guard aren't really focusing too much of their attention on these 2 Sons of Errol. Oh. Theoden stands alone. I don't think Aemir is going to come to the rescue because I believe he was actually the officer for this unit, which means he's dead. Oh, Theoden actually going to think about routing. I want to go check out other parts of the battle, but I also want to see this. But ooh, yeah, it looks like so far Khazad-dûm doing really, really well. I mean, they've taken a ton of losses, but oh, Theoden gonna be able to skirt out of there right at the last. Yeah, it looks like Khazad-dûm has taken a horrendous amount of losses, but there's a lot of horse archers left over from Rohan, so it's going to be really difficult for him to deal with these dwarves because the horse archers tend to have a pretty bad charge. And also, seeing as he's taking a lot of losses, it looks like Celtic is actually going to square up here, which is actually going to cause the Rohirrim to split their forces and go after RHUDAUR and Lindon. Oh geez, okay. He's had enough of dealing with the dwarves. Fortunately for RHUDAUR, it looks like a lot of his horse archers, looks like a lot of Rohan's horse archers are out of ammo, which is very good for RHUDAUR, honestly, because RHUDAUR is very lightly armored. So if he kept taking a ton of arrows to the back, that would have been very, very bad for him. So he's trying to reform his lance here. He has really no idea what the heck's going on. And back there, I would assume that Celtic is probably going to be slowly but surely making his way over here. Dwarves, of course, are very slow. But they will get over here eventually. HD and Bobo, it looks like, are going to completely abandon their fight between each other, and they're going to try to deal with Rohan first. Looks like they do not want to get attacked in the rear, just as nobody would. Take a look over here. Yeah, it's mainly cavalry, skirmishers, horse archers. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of lancers left over. You can see these Riddermark cavalry are lancers, but they're not great lancers. Got skirmishers and horse archers. And he's still got his Riddermark archers that are making their way over here. 1, 2 each, Lindon and RHUDAUR. And yes, you can see that Khazad-dûm is going to be moving forward now. It looks like he's going to try to catch those Riddermark archers. I have a feeling those Rohirrim are going to be able to get away in time. I don't know where the chariots of Lindon happen to be. Generally, you want to keep those guys as far away from cavalry as possible. For as long as possible. Yes, you can see they're actually here in the center of his army. And to wait to use them until they, the infantry fight has really begun. Because if you use these guys to just run down the whole length of a battle line, they can cause a horrendous amount of damage. But anyway, Rohan looks like he's going to go back. He's going to reform his lines here. He does not want to actually keep his army split wisely. And RHUDAUR here really just running around here. They do not like this at all that Rohan is trying to get behind them. The dwarves again slowly making their way over here. Not gonna be good news for both Lindon and RHUDAUR. Looks like this may turn to kind of a slow part in the battle, unsurprisingly, because this is just turning into a very strange situation. Again, the replay I think that HG sent me was called like unique FFA or something. So, also, I do actually have a 3-player FFA. There's myself, Bobo16K, and Dark Elven King. from a few days ago. That one was insanely close. I mean, pretty sure the winner, I'm not going to say who of course, only had like 50, maybe even 40 men left over, so I mean it was really close. It was super fun. Mark archers back there, Lindon nobles here. Again, with his cavalry force so depleted, he's going to have to try to use this, you know, Hereditary nobles as wisely as possible, mainly just as a screen, I would think, to his mainline infantry. Clansmen, with their armor upgrade, look very spiffy. However, even though they look very mean and very cool, they're not going to be super great. Atmore's Troll Hunter is going to face down the Rohan cavalry, not surprising considering they would hopefully be able to get a javelin volley off before taking a charge, and because they are spearmen in melee, they will be able to take a charge better than most other units. What is Lindon doing? I see a general. I bet it's the, yep, there's Théoden. Trying to go after these archers, getting attacked by chariots. And there he goes. Poor Théoden. I saw the star up here on the map that meant the general was nearby. I was like, wait, what? A general? I don't understand, but over here, looks like there's some Riddermark skirmishers going to try to harass the dwarves as they march their way around. It looks like they're going to try to go after Lindon. And yes, the skirmisher is going to go straight to the Sons of Eorl. And you can see that the Sons of Fallen are going to take a lot of losses, mainly because the Riddermark skirmishers are AP off the charge, even though they're not lancers. And that is down to the fact that they do have those two-handed axes. So even those Sons of the Fallen will take a lot of losses to that. Yeah, so it looks like maybe even Lister and Celtic agreed. They're like, okay, the dwarves can go after Lindon, Rohan can go after RHUDAUR. Ooh. Baird of Aldburg charging to the back of those Mithril Guard. And charging to their rear, ooh. Did a huge amount of damage. I believe these guys were at like 50 or 60, down, and are now down to 40. But they were actually able to rout those Baird of Aldburg. Yeah, that is a very unfortunate loss for Celtic. Guards of Khazad-dûm still at 54. The Legion Bodyguard at 48, so he's still got his elites. And in terms of prices, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea in terms of the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm, these guys, the Legion Bodyguard, are the worst out of these three in terms of stats, and they're also the least in terms of cost. These guys cost about 1,200 florins. The Mithril Guard are next, and they cost 1,300 florins. And the Guards of Khazad-dûm are the most expensive at 1,400 florins. Also, I believe the Mithril Guard might actually have the highest, like maybe attack, or maybe even defense stats. However, both the Legion Bodyguard and the Mithril Guard only have 2 hit points, while the Guards of Khazad-dûm actually have 3 hit points. So this is why they cost more, or cost the most, because they do actually have that 3rd hit point, which is very unique in terms of like standard infantry. I mean, obviously trolls have more than that, and Mumakil and stuff like that in Nazgul, but for a standard unit like this, I believe the Guards of Khazad-dûm actually have the most hit points at 3. Ooh, not looking too good for Bobo over here. Taking a lot of charges. Oh, not good at all. Yes, look, these Riddermark skirmishers and Riddermark cav charging into his troll hunters. It's a very dangerous game, honestly, to put your javelins in the front, because a lot of the times the javelins won't actually have enough time to get a volley off. You can see that they won't even have enough time to throw a volley at these retreating cavalrymen. But that's mainly down to the fact that most of this Rohan cav is actually light cavalry, so they're very quick. If it was something like Lok Inasrun, you know, like heavy cav or some kind of cataphract, javelins will sometimes be able to get a volley off, but against light cav like this, they will not be able to get a volley off very quickly. But ooh, a nice little trap here from Bobo, going to be able to surround those Riddermark skirmishers with his clansmen. And his Atmore's Troll Hunters, who are now down to 76. But again, the cavalry are going to be able to escape. And here actually comes some Riddermark archers. However, they are, with the general being dead, they are actually shaken before even being in the fight, so they'll probably rout pretty quickly here. Also down on this end, the Hereditary nobles down to 17, trying to protect their lines here from those riders of the fold who are actually routing now. The RHUDAUR archers also are constantly firing, trying to shoot down some of those cavalrymen. Yes, the Rittermark archers actually still fighting, surprisingly enough. They're wavering, however, and there they go. I'm going to go ahead and rout. We can take a look over here. And yes, it looks like Lindon is going to be facing the remnants of the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm. And because of the fact on how freaking great the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm are in terms of infantry, they are going to, even with these few amount of numbers, they will still be able to absolutely shred through most of Lindon's forces, especially with the large amount of elites they have left over. And because all of the Dwarven units here can actually go into shield wall, I would not be surprised if those Lindon pikemen are, or 4 Lindon pikemen rather, sorry, are pretty much rendered useless just because of that shield wall push, because of the extremely high mass of the dwarves. However, if HD can use his cavalry wisely, he could still definitely cause a huge amount of damage. You can see he's actually throwing his javelins now. Do not want that. But yeah, if he's able to use his AP Lancers to great effect, he could still be able to minimize his casualties. Oh, but it's not going to be a nice fight for him, not at all. Even the chariots I don't think will be able to do a huge amount of damage to the dwarves. Back there, but I don't know about this. If the dwarves are going to be able to cause a huge amount of damage to HD, so if Rohan isn't able to continuously harass Bobo down to relatively few numbers, I think this one might, well, would probably be able to end in a victory for Bobo 16k. So it's some interesting tactics here, to say the least. And Shield Guard taking some javelins there from the Mithlond Lancers. Yeah, javelins going all over the place, trying to target this blob, it looks like. Some of those guards of Khazad-dûm and the Mithril Guard as well going down. Some of the warriors. I actually kind of want to play as the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm in a pitch battle again for a replay. Just, it's really weird, honestly. Like, I've played with them in a pitch battle, and every time I use them in a pitch battle, as a rush build anyway, I either lose horrendously or I win with like 75 to 80% of my army left over. So it's like not very close at all ever. So maybe it'd be just a better idea just to use them in a siege, which is, you know, basically where they're best at. So it might be a better idea just to use them there, honestly, because that would probably end up being a closer fight. What the hell? Harenidine nobles back here from Bobo. Gonna charge into these... oh, maybe not. I don't know what they're doing over here. Getting chased by some pikes and some infantry. Now here's the Mithlond chariots. And the dwarves just see, you can see they're a huge mass just pushing through the elves who are outnumbering them like crazy. Oh, not good at all. Again, the dwarves very outnumbered here. And Bobo, very surprising, honestly, considering the fact that... oh, I don't know. Where even is okay, Rohan ran away. So Rohan looks like he's pretty much out of the fight. It's with the exception of a few units. So honestly, now Bobo's definitely looking the best right now because you can see the elves really struggling here. I mean, just look how easily they're getting pushed through. This is after the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm have already pretty much destroyed a lot of Rohan's forces, so not looking good at all. Mithlond chariots running around everywhere. Oof. This is not good. Yeah, honestly, if the remaining players don't try to team up and deal with Bobo over here, who is still just kind of sitting, I think definitely Bobo will win this one. Because he's just kind of playing the waiting game here, just kind of sitting. However, it looks like he is going to be on the march now, thankfully. Don't want to really see camping. Well, I just feel so bad for Lindon. What is happening? What did HD do? I feel so sad for him. Now he's getting attacked by Rohan as well. What did Lindon do? You can see the dwarves just butchering their way through these through the elves of Lindon here. Not looking good for him whatsoever. Chariots down to only half remaining. Yeah, gee whiz! I can go ahead and put it up to normal speed now. Poor Lindon, just getting absolutely wrecked right now by all, well, 2, pretty soon 3 of the 4 teams. Oh, just like that. There's only 1 chariot remaining. That's because you never want to leave your chariots in combat with cavalry, no matter what you do. The Lancer's going to get charged by some Eastmark Horse Archers and some Rudaumark Skirmishers. That will be the end of that Lancer unit. And just like that, the assets of Lindon are going down very quickly. However, it looks like he's starting to do slightly better against the Dwarves. There are still elites, but he's being able to surround them now, thankfully. Is that the last of the Legion bodyguard in there? So I don't see them anywhere else. Interesting. Yeah, RHUDAUR making his way over here now. A very, very interesting fight. Very strange in a lot of ways. You see the what are they? The Guards of Khazad-dûm is going to try to rush through these elves here, just try to cause as much damage as possible, really. Mithril Guard down to 11, actually thinking about routing. So yes, even dwarves can rout. The General of Khazad-dûm actually hasn't even fallen quite yet. Oof. Yeah, so it looks like the elves were able to beat the dwarves, but you can see they took a lot of losses. Ugh, not good at all, especially considering how freaking much RHUDAUR has left over. I'm really hoping that Lindon has some arrows left over, and he can target the Dunman Pikes and the Herenadine Pikes, because if he can't, I definitely think he will lose this fight, because the Clansmen are pretty piss poor. However, the Pikes, if they're able to set up their formation, they will probably be able to seal it, mainly just because the Lindon Pikes have taken so many losses by this time. Now Rohan kind of sitting back waiting, deciding what he wants to do. So Lindon is down to half of its men remaining. So he does have Harlan on guard out in the front here, but he's not firing yet, so well, they've got their bows. It's probably just a little occupied with the micro. Ooh, okay, so he's actually got the Witchram and Slayers. I did not know these guys could actually hide anywhere, but these guys are very elite. It looks like they're halberds, technically now. Before they were kind of like a elite pike unit, but it looks like now it's more of like a two-handed unit. So anyway, they're AP. They instill fear, and they inspire their troops around them with like a 25-meter radius, I think. So very good, but they also are very expensive, costing about 1,200 coins, I believe. Yes, the Harlan Guard are now opening fire, hopefully at the Herenadine Pikes and the Dunman Pikes. The Herenadine Pikes will be able to weather the arrows better than the Dunman Pikes, just because they do actually have a shield value. Still, they don't have the best armor. Uh-oh, these Harlan Guard are not firing. That is not good. You can see Lindon going to try to reform his lines here. Yeah, unfortunately for him, his archers are not firing. He's not being super quick about reforming his lines, because he literally just finally dealt with the dwarves. And yes, it looks like Rohan has decided it's probably not the best idea to go after Lindon, who is now at only half his men remaining. It'd probably be a better idea to go after RHUDAUR, so that is what he's going to do. Looks like his horse archers and his other remaining cav is going to go after the RHUDAUR marksmen and Dunman hunters. Oh, and there's that chariot running around, but unfortunately it ran straight into these pikes and was cut down. Yeah, Lindon trying to reform his lines here. Gonna try to reform his few remaining pikes and infantry. He's also got his archers just around as well. I think it'll definitely be pretty easy for RHUDAUR to surround him if he wants, but honestly, he doesn't have a ton of elites. So, because of how many clansmen he has left over, Bobo could still have a very tough time of this. However, right here, his Witchram and Slavers going to charge headlong into the infantry and pikemen. Ugh, those guys are very deadly. They've got multiple hit points. They are AP. Pretty high in skill, I believe, as well. The RHUDAUR clansmen, not too great. But they do have shield wall, and yes, Bobo, definitely being an experienced player, is going to try to push through with the shield wall, but looks like the elves are going to be able to stop that, at least for the time. Here come the 4 units of pikes, but the Rohirrim have arrived. They're causing a lot of havoc in the back lines of Bobo 16k. So, oh yeah, you can see those ritual enslavers just cutting their way through the elves. But yeah, anyway, it's basically, I think, going to be down to if the elves... Yeah, it's going to depend on if the elves will be able to hold RHUDAUR back long enough for the Rohirrim cav to really cycle charge constantly. Because I don't think Lindon has enough to deal with RHUDAUR by itself. But with the Rohirrim, I think there's still a chance to take down Bobo. Honestly, it's too bad that he did not have a unit of the Wardens of Elas Tyrion, because just imagine, he set up his Rangers right here at the BP, just firing down this entire line of Pikes and Clansmen. But again, the Dunman Pikes very low tier, the RHUDAUR Clansmen again also very low tier, so a lot of Bobo 16k's infantry quite low tier, honestly. So you can see the elves are, where they are stronger in numbers, they're doing very well for themselves. Those Hermannite Pikes already down to 97. Yes, here comes some charges from the Rohirrim straight into Dunman Pikes, which again is fine because the Dunman Pikes are not super high tier, but you just need to make sure to, you need to make sure to get your cavalry out of there before the pikemen turn around, because there go the Ridmark skirmishers, because the Rohirrim general has fallen. And oh no, you can see the enslavers able to crush that flank of Lindon, going to be able to outflank these pikes, who are actually thinking about routing now. Oh, and it's getting a lot closer. The Rohirrim cav needs to cycle charge down on this end, I think, more than on this end. Because on this end, Lindon is definitely coming out the better for things. Now hopefully he'll be able to kind of turn around here to face this flanking maneuver that Bobo is pulling off. And again, lists are going to pound into Bobo's flanks. Honestly, if it weren't for the loss of the Rohirrim general, I would think that Lister had a really excellent chance of winning this. Actually, take it back. He might just have a good chance of winning this anyway, because I don't know if Lindon has enough to deal with. Lindon or RHUDAUR have enough to deal with the Rohirrim cav, honestly. And it looks like the alliance of Rohan and Lindon is over with, because it looks like he is going to begin charging into Lindon now. Lindon Pikes. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Now, Lindon, very weak in numbers now, going to try to retreat, but honestly, RHUDAUR still has a lot left over. I think they're still going to have to be teammates just for a little bit longer, maybe. And then they can probably go back to killing each other, because RHUDAUR is still looking fairly healthy for all its losses. Which Roman slavers, very cool looking, very deadly as well. More cavalry routing, and again, because the loss of the general, Lister's going to have to deal with some very annoying routing problems. Especially because the Witch Roman slavers do inspire fear. Or instill fear, not inspire. Inspire courage, instill fear. But anyway, I think there's some Lindon pikemen back here as well that came back from routing. These smart horse archers, and men pikes. Ooh. I think some arrows are firing as well. Yeah, Harlem Guard are shooting down some of these pikemen. And again, those Witch Roman slavers, very, very good in a straight fight. Ooh, a lot of those Rohan pikes going down, but again, with the shields, they're going to be able to at least deal with the arrows for a little bit. And Harlandon infantry is going to get absolutely butchered by those Witch Roman slavers there, and they're actually wavering. Harlandon pikemen are going to be able to hold for a little bit, but honestly, ooh, yeah, not looking too hot. Rohan is definitely going to have to, yeah, there go the Harlandon infantry routing. And the Lindon pikemen right after. So the fear really coming out on top right now for Bobo. Lindon Guard are also probably going to route. And again, because the Rohirrim general has been taken out, the Witch-Roman Slavers may actually play a very important role in dealing with the loss of Rohan, because now that Lindon has been defeated, looks like it's going to pretty much just be... Oh, I totally forgot that Lindon's general actually died early on as well, but yeah, now that the Lindon... Oh, yeah, now that the Lindon infantry forces have been defeated, I honestly think this will still come out as a victory for Bobo, because the horse archers are all out of ammo, and that's going to it's going to make it very difficult for him to deal with the pikes, especially because he no longer has the Lindon infantry for the pikes to fight head on, so he could have been able to rear charge into those into the back of these pikemen here. The smart horse archers charging into these clansmen. Gonna have to get out of there before the pikes arrive, though. Rearmark. Skirmisher's gonna charge into those 11 RHUDAUR clansmen. 4 left of 9. Rearmark skirmishers took a lot of losses, though, surprisingly. Again, all kinds of spears will still cause a lot of damage to most units of cavalry. Dunman pikes fighting against some Rearmark archers. Ooh, Dunman pikes gonna take a charge in the rear from the Rearmark skirmishers, though. That may be the end of this unit of Dunman pikemen, as long as the Rearmark archers do not rout, that is. There go the Rearmark skirmishers. And yes, there go the Rearmark archers as well. So it looks like that's pretty much going to be it. And I do think that Bobo will be able to pull out a victory in this battle. Still, a very nice battle, nevertheless. I just love these guys so much I had to take a screenshot of that. Anyway, I think that'll pretty much be the end of this video, so I can go ahead and speed it up to 6 times. Very well played, I think, by all players. Honestly, maybe if Rohan hadn't gone after Lindon, I think it probably could have turned out differently. But nevertheless, it was still very close. You can see HG definitely getting the most kills. Lister not too far behind him. And then Celtic and then Bobo. We'll take a quick look at his exact kills. Noldorn Horse Lords, unfortunately, only getting 61 kills. Mithlond Lancers also not getting very many kills. Also his Chariots. So his Cavalry, not the best. However, his Pikes did insanely well. You can see where they were able to set up. They did extremely well. I believe this unit that is down to, that only had 24 kills, was probably one of the units that got pretty much instantly pushed through by the Dwarves. His Harlandon Infantry also did well. His Guard did good in addition to that. As other archers. And the Scouts got 27 kills. Well, but that'll pretty much be the end of this video, so I hope you guys did enjoy it. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you did. If you did not, just tell me what I did wrong, and I'll be sure to fix it for the next video. Also, a big thank you again to HD 1080p for sending me this replay. So farewell wherever you fare, till your eyes receive you at your journey's end.